I'm the Richmond City Manager. Can everybody hear me all right? Good. To start off this evening workshop, and first of all, again, I really want to thank you for being here, taking time out of your evening. Just to get us started here, we're going to have a welcome by Richmond's Vice Mayor, J.L. Myrick.
I want to thank Bill, I want to thank all the staff for putting this together, and each and every one of you for coming out here tonight. This is extremely exciting for me. Looking back, I can remember in 2012 and 2013 when I was first talking about this idea of a Richmond Promise or a scholarship program, a universal college type program in the city of Richmond. People looking at me like I was crazy, like it was completely, out of this world and something that was never going to happen. And now we're very close to this program going into effect. The funding has been secured from Chevron, and the details are being worked out. And that's why we're here to get your input as a community. Staff has been doing their diligence and doing their work since January, February to put together the draft strategic plan. And I think 2 months ago or so, or a month or so ago, they decided to set up these community workshops, one today, one on June 18th. Months ago, that decision was made to make sure that community's input is included as well, so that we can make sure that we're putting together the right proposal. It's a lot like, Obamacare. It was passed in, 2009, 2010, but it took a while to make sure you work out the kinks and figure out the details. And the implementation, all the questions regarding implementation are important. So today, I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you on, and to us all hearing from all of you on the different aspects of this, of the Richmond Promise, and the real possibilities, the potential that's available for this whole program, for our whole community. And there's a lot of different pieces to that. I think there's no, I'll just real briefly address what I think. I have a feeling that there may be one or two people here specifically concerned about the question around charter schools. But what I will say to that is, again, these are details that we're going to work out, and that we have you all here to discuss those details and figure out the best way forward. Specifically, though, around the charter question, the real question for me is how we make it work financially without impacting the rest of the schools and the rest of the students. And I really want to publicly thank the Chamberlain Foundation, who recently made a pledge to help us fund. They made us help us fund this program through the charter agreement, and I appreciate them making that pledge. And again, the math needs to be worked out, the numbers need to be figured out. If possible, that may be a way for us to get beyond some of those concerns, but we have to work those details out and figure out those numbers. So anyway, on the broader issues, there's a lot of questions that we need to figure out here. There's questions around the community college piece and how best, and I've heard some good ideas around community college and how best to support community colleges and make sure that that piece is strong. There's questions around eligibility in general. There's questions around what the award amounts should be. So all these things we're going to have a chance to discuss. We should though remember that this is not a blank check. We've got about $35 million for 10 years. So, we do have to understand that we do have to figure out ways to do it that make sure that this program does last, and that we are not doing things that are going to bankrupt the program before it begins. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I'm so very, very excited that this is getting off the ground and becoming a reality in Richmond. And I'm very grateful to each and every one of you for participating in this. And I'm excited for the next generation of young people in Richmond who basically, and we'll hear from some young people actually in a moment after right about now actually, but basically young people in Richmond for the next generation aren't going to deal with what my generation and previous generations dealt with when it comes to trying to figure out how you're going to continue your education. And that's the real goal here, and that's what we need to keep in mind. So thank you all for everything you're doing, and we'll continue with the program.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Myrick. Let me start, first of all, by giving you a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be doing this evening. First of all, we're going to provide a little bit of background on some of the concepts that we're working with. And one thing that I do want to stress is something that the Vice Mayor said, is that, I've had people ask me questions about the program as if it is a train that has left the station. And what I want to really stress is that we haven't even loaded up the cars yet. We're still in the idea stage, we're in the forming stage, we're in the fact gathering stage. We've done a lot of research, but this is perhaps, we're starting now, the most important part of our research, which is meeting with the community and going over some of these ideas and concepts and getting input to help us form our thinking before we go back to the City Council to start to make some decisions about these really very complex ideas. We'll provide a little bit of background about paying for college and some of the work that research that we've been doing, and how that's kind of shaped the concepts we're working with right now. And then I know that a lot of you are used to coming to public meetings, school board meetings, and there's a microphone and you come up one at a time, a minute at a time, and you provide your input. And we're not going to do that this evening. What we're going to do instead is focus on some of the core issues. We're going to do some breakout groups and have a discussion and question and answer about some of these different ideas. And then we'll come back and reconvene as a larger group and we'll share some of the input that we got. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to focus the input tonight on some of these specific issues. We have another community workshop that's coming up next week, and what we'll try to have that one do is build on the information we get this evening and start then to look for commonalities in the different ideas. And so it's going to be a little bit more of a dialogue than you might be used to than testimony, if you will. The breakout groups, we're going to talk about college readiness and the developing a college-going culture in the community. We'll talk about some of the issues having to do with the financial award, how that would be structured, what the amounts might be, and we'll need to get some input on that as well. And then the fourth topic is on eligibility. How do we structure, how do we make rules about who's eligible, how long are they in the schools before they're eligible, which schools do they go to? And again, not many decisions made tonight because we're not the decision makers. We're the ones who are gathering this information. And then, as I said, we'll report back. I think it's, if you can stay to the end, that would be great, so you can listen to what these other groups have talked about. I do want to start out by thanking and acknowledging some of the folks that have helped us get as far as we have so far. I'd like to personally thank the staff from the Richmond City Manager's Office who have worked on this, and there are numerous, I won't even go over their names, they're too numerous, but they all get great credit. We've had a lot of conversations with school district board members and staff. Board member Val Cuevas is here, I think I saw her come in, and Madeline Cronenberg also has helped inform us, as well as the superintendent, Bruce Harder. We have had meetings with the Contra Costa College District staff. Tamil Gilkerson in particular and Seti Siddhartha has helped, they both helped kind of inform our thinking, and we have a board member from the college district, John Marquez, is here this evening also. We've also had a conversation with community partners. One that is very involved at Richmond High School in terms of the college readiness aspect of it. That's an organization called College is Real. Doing a really excellent job in terms of getting students ready for the transition to a four-year college. They don't write the scholarships, they don't prepare the scholarships, but they informed us about some key aspects of the program which have to do with getting ready for college, both from the school district side and also from the student side. We had conversations with the Richmond Community Foundation Jim Becker, the executive director, is here. And also the West County Ed Fund, which an organization you may have heard of, they provide a lot of information for us about the college access and financial access, and very much indebted to them. I know Robert Bunce is here from the Ed Fund. There he is. And finally, I wanted to thank, we have several council members here. Council members, as you probably can gather, are very interested in this project. You heard from Vice Mayor J.L. Myrick, Council Member Vinay Pimblay is here this evening, and I believe I saw Councilmember Nat Bates here also. I see Camille Wilkerson from this college district here also. Thanks. So with that, we're going to start off by something that just provides a little bit of context for why we think this scholarship program is important, why we think that the Richmond Promise needs to be a promise. We're going to hear from a student. This is a Richmond High School graduate, class of 2009, and who just received, actually last year, received a bachelor's degree from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Please welcome Samantha Suriano.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Samantha Suriano. I am 23 years old, and I graduated from Richmond High School in 2009. I continued my education at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where I received my Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering in spring of 2014. I currently live here in Richmond and work in Alameda as a project engineer for a mechanical contractor. Being raised by a single father and being a first-generation college student, the road to higher education definitely had its challenges. I lacked resources, and I always questioned how I could even afford to go to college. When I first started high school, I felt that the perception of Richmond and its students were very negative. Attending a university was a far reach for most. Fortunately for me and many other students, a program called College is Real was created at my high school my junior year. This program provided academic counseling, tutoring, mentoring, motivation, accountability, resources for students, and scholarships. Last week, I attended College is Real's 10th anniversary banquet. When the program was started, I was one of about 25. The goal that first year was to get everyone to simply apply to the university. This year, the program had over 140 students, with most graduating seniors, if not all, attending either a community college or a four-year university in the fall. It is great to see how much the program has grown over these years. It has impacted so many students' lives and tremendously increased the amount of students out of Richmond High pursuing a higher education. I decided to move back to Richmond, where I recently just purchased my first house, to try to make a change and prove that it's not just about making it out, but coming to your community and support our youth and help provide resources I know I lacked when I was in school. To those students who are graduating high school in 2016 and beyond, and have the opportunity to continue your higher education, you will have the Richmond Promise. I want to congratulate you and encourage you to come back and help this community continue to grow. Thank you.
I think Samantha has already made a change in our community just by her words. Thank you very much and your efforts. So I'm going to get started now with going through the program. Some of this I'm going to go through fairly quickly. A lot of it is statistical information. You can find this entire presentation on the city's website and more detailed information about what we're going to present. As was mentioned, this Richmond Promise came out of an agreement with Chevron as part of their refinery modernization project. And the agreement is known as the Chevron Environmental and Community Investment Agreement. And what Chevron did is they agreed to fund the Richmond Promise program, which is, and the amount that they provided is $35 million over a 10-year period. So that the first bit of that contribution is coming in this week and going into a bank account. It's actually going into an escrow account where it can't be touched until we're ready to have scholarships and we're set with the administration. The $35 million sounds like a lot of money, but in fact, when you look at not only just the number of students we have now, but also the potential of more students attending college, it doesn't necessarily go very far. And in fact, our very basic calculations show that what we would really like to do is to grow this amount, this pledge, to about $150 million so that it can be fully endowed over time. As I mentioned, the current status is that we are still gathering information, and so it's still in the design phase. We put out a draft strategic plan. You can take a look at it. Again, it's on our website. And we've also made a presentation 2 weeks ago to the City Council. They provided some input, had some questions, and the goal is to come back to the City Council in July to try to get closure on some of these issues. And the reason it seems to be going fairly quickly is because we are hoping to launch the program with the class of 2016. So that would be next graduating class. And there is a lot of work to do. It seems like a whole year off, there's a lot of time. But in fact, as you'll hear, the program really needs to start in September. Not next June, but in September. Just some information, background information about West County Unified School District graduation rates. You can see the various schools where vast majority of Richmond students attend. And these are the graduation rates of just the Richmond students. Again, this is interesting data. It's maybe slightly lower for Richmond students, but really pretty consistent with the average graduation rates at the high schools. And one reason that we're looking very much at graduation rates is because what we've learned in our research is that a Promise program like we're proposing with the Richmond Promise is something that can have a significant impact on graduation rates. Significant impact. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is a community that has a Promise program. Between 2007 and 2014, their graduation rate increased from 63% to 71%. Really a very significant, over 8 percentage point increase. And for African American males, which was their target, the graduation rate went from 15% to 30% in that same period. So clearly, the incentive, the financial incentive, or the providing this promise does inspire students to graduate. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about paying for college, and it's not cheap. And in fact, it's gotten so that rather than talk about the price to attend college, they talk about the amount of debt that you have when you leave. And for UC Berkeley, the average student leaves with debt of over $20,000. For Cal State students, the students leave with debt of in excess of $18,000. By comparison, though, and again, doing some of our research, there's an organization called the East Bay College Fund in Oakland, and they have provided scholarships, most recently 187 scholarships to low-income students in the Oakland Unified School District. And the comparable debt is substantially lower. They were doing $4,000 awards of scholarships, And instead of these debts of $20,000, $18,000, the average debt was only $3,000. So perhaps allows you to buy a house when you graduate, as Samantha was able to do. Some of you who have already started the work, research, may know all this. And in fact, in the city manager's office, we are amateurs in looking at paying for college, but we've learned a lot by doing some research. As you probably know, first students complete and submit the FAFSA form, free application for federal student aid, or the California DREAM Act application by March 2nd of each school year. Again, another reason to start early, another reason we need to start in September and not June, because one of the things that will be important to us is that students attain as much financial aid as possible, so that stretches the dollars from the Richmond Promise program as far as it can go. Based on the information provided, the government determines what's called an expected family contribution, and that financial aid depends on that. For the expected financial contribution, it's a formula that looks at total need, cost of attendance minus the expected family contribution, and the total need is based on the institution's cost of attendance minus that family contribution, family income, students' earnings and savings, family's net assets, family size, age of oldest parent, number of children currently in college. So it's complicated. A lot of factors go into how one determines that total need. And of course, that will be different depending on what type of institution it is. We've provided some sample data here. This, the source of this data was the Ed Fund, which again provided a lot of help for us in doing our research. And these are not averages, these are just examples of when you have the cost of attendance per year, what the gift aid might be, and what the net cost is. What's interesting, again, it does vary a lot by distribution, by institution, and generally speaking, the higher the sticker price for the institution, the greater the amount of aid. So, so in some respects, the layering is important. There's a higher dollar figure that comes to students in the terms of aid, and so the gap that's being bridged by Richmond Promise funds can be about the same and still have the same impact. As you know, financial aid comes in many categories. There's scholarships, grants, work study, and loans. And I think one of the concepts is that we want to find out about is at what layer should the Richmond Promise funds come in? That's an important thing. Should it come in before loans? Should it come in before work study? And so those are all things we're wrestling with. If you want more information, again, this will all be on our website, but take a look because it is very complicated. So let me talk a little bit about the specifics of our local Richmond Promise program. First of all, you should know that Richmond is not the only community to have done this. This has been done throughout the nation, but it's been done in a limited amount throughout the nation. This is not a widespread, common program. But there is a Promise network of about 30 communities that have these Promise programs. And they're all a little bit different. El Dorado, Arkansas, and Kalamazoo, Michigan are the two best funded programs and probably provide the highest, most generous benefit to the students. Some of the programs have eligibility based on grade point average. Some of it have it based on attendance incentives. They're all just a little bit different. And so in terms of surveying all of these, we were trying to look at what the best practices were and how these might best fit in the Richmond community. And we're still trying to figure that out, and that's part of this meeting tonight. We also understand that the success of the Richmond Promise doesn't just depend on the amount of the scholarships. There are a lot of things that need to go into it. And there's a lot of places where things can kind of leak out. So we look at the fact that there's the financial aid, that piece of it is very important. But there's also, it's really very critical that we have a good working relationship with the school district, good partnership with the school district, because so much of the success of the program comes from the college readiness that is for the district, and they've indicated that they take this as something that's very serious, is developing this college-going culture. And it also depends on providing the students with not just the financial aid, but as Samantha indicated, some of the other types of help, the tutoring, the mentoring that goes along with it. So we have primary goals for the program: increase the number of students who access college readiness preparation, who graduate from high school, are UC, Cal State eligible, attend accredited four-year universities and community college, and complete a bachelor's degree, associate's degree, or career and technical education certification. So we are recognizing the fact, at least in this draft form, that not everybody is committed to a four-year college. There are certainly some outstanding careers in technical areas that the Richmond Promise, we think, can contribute to. There are also some secondary goals, and these are these are things that are measurable, but wouldn't necessarily come out with the scholarship piece. First, we want to look at how resources for the school district might be increased to support students as additional students enrolled to take advantage of the Promise program. Increase enrollment and resources for Contra Costa College to support Promise scholars. Increase the economic well-being of Richmond by producing a college-ready workforce, and broadly speaking, improving the health of residents by improving the education system. Cities don't usually get involved in education. As you know, that's the purview of the school district. But in our general plan, we have an education element because we consider education to be a very important part of the community, and our working relationship with the school district is very important along those lines. So again, college readiness, developing a college-going culture, providing the financial means, that's the Richmond Promise, and having resources that align to achieve all those goals. In terms of the college readiness piece, there are what we've described as future centers. We didn't coin that phrase. Again, we did research on other communities and what they were doing. Future centers came out of the Promise program in Denver, Colorado. And what they did is they actually branded these future centers, which are focused on college readiness, all the things that we've talked about. College prep curriculum and AP courses, these are all part of college readiness. In-class college prep curriculum, dual enrollment perhaps for some students at Contra Costa College, STEM initiatives, and other inclusionary types of programs. I know that for somebody who has a child in kindergarten, college seems a long way off. As a person who's had 2 kids graduate from college, I can tell you, as you can probably gather, it goes by very fast. One thing that we learned again from doing our research is that you need to start very early. El Dorado, Arkansas, that has the El Dorado Promise, they have an orientation for kindergarten students about the El Dorado Promise. They are told when they enter kindergarten, by the way, you're going to be here in our schools for 12 years and then you're going to go to college. And that's the mindset, that's the college-going culture, and then it goes throughout. And you heard a lot of these things earlier when Samantha was talking about mentoring network, college tours, and all the things that go into that. get all these things fit together. Certainly, as I said, there's plenty of career and technical education certificates. Contra Costa College provides these many choices and options for students. The financial means is something that is part of college readiness, getting the forms filled out, FAFSA, dean assistance, doing financial planning, and then finally the Promise Award. All of this, we think anyway, is something that needs to fit together. If we don't help fit it together, then our concern is that there are too many students who will leak out and won't be able to take advantage of the promise. We're looking at different options for what the award might be. And this is for single year. For UC and private schools, the idea was perhaps $4,000 per year to be used within a certain number of years, $2,000 per year at Cal State colleges, $1,000 per year at Contra Costa College. We're also looking at other models so that it's more equivalent then for UC and private schools and the Cal State system. Again, the notion here is that at least data that we've gathered is that we want to make sure that different institutions provide different support, and so in some respect we can look at a single level and perhaps provide the same benefit to the students. Some of the elements that we are looking at right now is that this Richmond Promise funds need to be used, initial use, within 1 year after graduation. So the idea is you can take a year off, but after that, back into school. Must use within 3 years at a community college or 5 years to complete a bachelor's degree. So you don't want to become a professional student. There's 4 years of help within those periods of time, or 2 years for community college. Students may not use a scholarship for fully online programs or for-profit institutions. Available to all residents, no means testing. So in other words, no grade point average requirement. This is something that if you can get into college, the Promise Award is there. Limited to residents of Richmond. And then we've come up with a sliding scale. Again, we've learned this from other Promise communities. And depending how long you've been enrolled in the school system, the award will go up. So you can, if you start in kindergarten and go all the way through, you have 100% of the award, and then it scales down from there. If you just come at the high school, if you're just relocating for the last several years, then the promise you would not be eligible for it. Again, that's the draft we're working with right now, and certainly we want to hear your comments on that. These are the schools that are part of the school district system where a lot of students attend, and certainly charter schools, as the Vice Mayor mentioned, are an issue. If you look, you probably can't see that. Again, go to our website, but enrollment at charter schools has been going up. So it's a serious issue that we really want to take a look at. Finally, this gives an idea of the timeline that we're shooting for. Let's start at the bottom with June, when the Promise scholarships are awarded. We are back in June right now, where we're just getting the elements of the program in place. We want to hire an executive director who can help keep this and get it organized. And certainly a lot of work needs to be done even before September. But in September, the idea is to have a lot of these elements of the Richmond Promise program institutionalized. What we're doing this evening, this is the first community workshop we've had. There'll be another one next week. I guess that's next Thursday, week from Thursday. And we're also doing a number of stakeholders, and we're talking to a lot of the Richmond students as well. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is not 1 minute or 30 seconds of a time for comments, but the idea is that at this meeting anyway, we want to try to have some breakout groups and some discussions. So we want to hear your comments on these and other other topics, but the ones that we've identified are college readiness and future centers. How can the program best prepare students and families? And I think that group is in the next room. College-going culture. How can the program best foster a college-going culture in Richmond, which is also that direction? And what should the award amount be? You saw some of the options that we were looking at. That is letter C over there. And then eligibility. Who should be eligible for the award? How should we establish that criteria as well? So we'll continue with this. I mentioned we'll go back to the City Council in July. Fast schedule, a lot of work to do. And we're also going to be seeking the endorsement of the School District Board of Trustees and also of the College District Board of Trustees. We hope that they can provide some good information for us as well. So we will come back after we break out and we'll report back on some of the comments that we had. Before I close my remarks, and I really do appreciate you listening to all of this, there's a lot of things going on. I did want to recognize Councilmember Javonka Beckles, who is here. Right. And I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, I apologize, but thank you for your reference. Where do we go next? D. D is in this corner over here. That deals with eligibility. So thanks very much. I'll turn it over now to Gabino for some final instructions. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gabino Redondo, work in the city of Richmond. A lot of people have been talking about eligibility, who should be considered for the Richmond Promise Scholarship. That's what will be right here. Our facilitators will be myself, Jim Becker, and Mr. Lindsay. Over here, award amount, Shasta Curl and Evan Bissell. Well, you're just going to be turning your seats that way, and we'll have discussions on that side. And Group D will be here. Academic College Readiness and Future Centers, they'll be in the room next door. You can either go through this hall or outside and back into the rooms. And Group B, College Going Culture, also over this side. So we have David right there, David Gray from the Mayor's Office, Joanna from Recreation. So if we could please break up, nos vamos a quedar en grupos sobre los 4 temas que tenemos. And there's a lot of food still in the hallway. Hay todavía mucha comida. Just move your chairs towards